Now, our next agenda will be a forum entitled Be in Control Drug, followed by an edutainment, educational entertainment, nice play of words there, which is a musical sketch entitled Message from the Prison by Jabatan Penjara Malaysia. Before we proceed, I would like to convey a message from the authorities of Jabatan Penjara Malaysia. They have outlined 4 major don'ts or rules that everyone must take seriously and abide by. Do not take any photos or videos of today's event and upload it on social media. I know some of you are itching to update your Instagram and Snapchat. Please do not do that. It is strictly forbidden. So no taking out your smartphones, no taking out cameras, no taking pictures or videos at all. Yes, during the sketch. Also, when the inmates come in, please have no bodily contact with them and also avoid any transactions, interactions, and also communications with the inmates. If you have any questions, you can always direct them to the organizing committee. All right? Now, with that out of the way, I would like to move to the next agenda, which is the forum entitled Be in Control Drug. This forum will be moderated by Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Zulkifli bin Matjuso, Dean's School of Pharmacy. And with him are 4 esteemed panel speakers, which are Professor Dr. Philip George, Associate Dean of IMU Clinical Campus, who is also a consultant psychiatrist and addiction specialist, Dr. Ravi Ramada, Principal Assistant Director, Agency Anti-Dada Kebangsaan, Mr. Kamal Effendi, Facilitator and Criminal Analysis, and Mr. Hafizi Harun, Deputy President of Rumah Pengasih. Now, with much honor, I would like to invite Prof. Zul and also the 4 panel speakers to take their seats in front of the auditorium. Now, while our speakers are taking their seats, we have a special song that we would like all of you to listen to. It's called Mereka Yang Rebah by a group of Malaysian artists. This song has a very deep and meaningful message in its lyrics, and we would like all of you to listen carefully and also appreciate its meaning. Thank you.
Lihatlah sekeliling kita,
betapa saban hari pasti ada saja
harapan serta bunga bangsa yang rebah. Tak memadai sekadar keluhan,
apatah lagi jelingan serta cemburuan.
yang jatuh dan yang rebah itu adalah anak watan
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera, very good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. My name is Muhammad Zulkifli. As introduced earlier, I'm the Dean School of Pharmacy. Okay, my full name is Muhammad Zulkifli bin Mat Jusoh. And I'm your moderator for this forum. And as introduced by the MC, that our forum title today is Be in Control from Drugs. So before I go further, I would like to introduce, or rather, I think, let the panelists introduce or briefly introduce about themselves. You know their names already, but you don't know which one or which one. Okay. So I would like the gentleman in the pink at my left, okay, to start with.
Thank you, Prof. Zul. My name is Philip. I'm a psychiatrist and addiction medicine specialist, professor of psychiatry and head of department of psychiatry, IMU. And I've been working in addiction now for since 2003, when we first started the second clinic in Malaysia to treat patients with drug addiction problem in Seremban, GH. Thank you.
Next, please.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Hafizi Harun and I am the Deputy President of Pengasih Malaysia, an NGO, and I am also an addiction counselor. I've been working in the field of addiction for 22 years now.
Thank you, Mr. Hafizi. Welcome.
Comment ça va? Je m'appelle Kamal. English, suddenly French, right? Yeah. I eat a lot of French fries every day. So, a very good morning. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kamal Effendi Hashim. I'm a crime analyst, and I'm also the vice chairman for the Malaysia Crime Prevention Foundation. And my work is in the field of prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation of offender. That's the thing. Other than that, yes, I look like Shah Rukh Khan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good morning. Dr. Ravi, as the name tag says so. All right. So I'm Principal Assistant Director in National Anti-Drug Agency. My background is I'm a medical doctor. Been in the agency for past 5 years. I'm in charge of the medical treatment in our agency, as well as a bit of the policing and also some data analysis. So that will be my profile.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we know all of their backgrounds already. So you may maybe think any question that you would like to ask them later. Okay, based on their expertise later. Okay, I would like to introduce the format of this forum. So we will have 3 rounds of question. Okay. So I, as a moderator, I will ask each of you a question. So there are 3 rounds of the question. And before I begin with asking the question, I would like to share with audience here, as well as, of course, to the panelists, my own story. Okay. But, of course, not about myself. Azizi, not Hafizi, Azizi, not a real name, was born in 1974. He built his talent in field hockey sports since he was in primary school. He played for the state, and this continued until he entered the high school, which was one of the premier boarding school in the East Coast. Or I think all of you know Sekolah Berasrama Penuh. So Azizi was a really, brilliant student. And not only brilliant, he also active. So after he completed his secondary and further to diploma study, okay, at that time, he worked at the bank. Okay. while he continued playing hockey, and even at one time, he actually played for the national team. Okay? Then after a few years later, he suddenly disappeared, and we never heard about him anymore. Until one day, one of our close friends disclosed to us that Azizi was involved in substance addiction. And the family is trying to keep him away from public and even from his friends, including us. So this is the real story that happened to me or to my friend. Okay? So actually the song that was aired just now is my special request to the organizer, because luckily the light was off when the song was played. Because every time I listen to that song, I'll be a bit emotional. And I try to cover it by wearing these glasses. So, as what mentioned by Prof. Vishna, this thing could happen to anybody, and anybody around you, anybody that close to you, that you don't know. Azizi, of course not his real name, he was our close friend. We play hockey together, of course we studied together. And then suddenly we didn't hear anything from him. And what we heard is that he was involved in these substance abuses, and since then nobody know what happened to him. Okay. Until now. Okay, so continuing from my story here, I would like to throw a question to Prof. Dr. Philip Josh. For information, there's another occasion where you can reach Prof. Philip Josh is through Light FM. Okay? I'm a regular listener of Light FM and actually always listen to Prof. Philip Josh. Okay, so Prof. Philip Josh, so from the mental health perspective, how does the substance addiction actually affect a person?
Yeah, well, substances, illegal substances affect the brain. So first and foremost, it's in the brain that our behavior, our thoughts, our emotions, and everything is controlled and regulated. And when people use substances, that changes. So it becomes a mental health problem, because mental health and mental illness is related to the brain functioning. What we think, what we do, what we say, what we feel, and all that is part of our mental well-being. If our mental well-being is affected because we've used something, then it becomes a mental problem or mental illness. So yeah, substance use problems are actually considered as mental health problems. And it affects the brain because there are receptors in our brain. The brain is a complex organ. It has receptors. When you take something like caffeine, like coffee, it stimulates the brain to some extent. When you take something, for example, smoke a cigarette, you might actually feel some calming effect initially, but later it has different effects. So each substance that we take, depending on the receptors that we have, the brain can change. And if we start taking it regularly, the brain becomes used to it and wants it. We have no more control. And so that's how the brain is involved in addiction. If we use it once or occasionally, it may not be affected. But if we use it for longer periods, we can become dependent and the brain actually changes. And that becomes an illness that doesn't go away.
All right, so obviously that anything that come to the addiction level, that shows that you are not in control anymore, but the brains are controlling you. Okay. Thank you, Prof. Philip Josh. And then next, to Mr. Hafizi Harun. Well, back to my story just now. Actually, we know that Azizi did actually get some help or treatment from pengasih. So can you tell us more about what is pengasih and what are the roles and services of pengasih?
Pengasih is an NGO. Pengasih is an association run exclusively by former drug addicts. So all of our members from top to bottom, the founders, the founders of Pengasih, the president of Pengasih, the deputy president of Pengasih, the EXCO council members, the gardeners, the drivers, the chefs, the professional counselors, were once drug addicted individuals. So our members, we had the personal experience of abusing drugs or being addicted to drugs, and we are doing this work professionally. So Pengasih's services, we do intervention, we do prevention programs where we go to schools, where we go to universities, colleges, prisons, other institutions, and also we do also advocacy, okay, where we speak on behalf of our clients, of our community, to reduce and reverse stigmatism, because of course addiction, there's always addiction, stigmatization comes together with the disease of addiction. So that's why we are actively doing advocacy, speaking on behalf of our clients and pursuing a change in our drug policy, okay? And also, we also do treatment and rehabilitation, okay, where we have 9 rehabs throughout the country. And then, because I was also doing drugs at one point in life, I was abusing drugs for 6.5 years, heroin, using needles. And I got treated from one of the rehabs of Pengasih. So I was being treated for 1.5 years. And then I decided to pursue this as a professional career. Okay, so that's my say.
Thank you, Mr. Hafizi. So, Mr. Hafizi has spoken of his real experience, life about these drug abuses. So maybe you can think of any further question that you would like to ask Mr. Hafizi later. So we know that usually when we talk about this drug addict or penagih dadah, or we always relate them to crimes. Whenever we heard there is a crimes happening around us, first come to our mind, most likely, is a work of the drug addict. Okay, so we would like to know further about those crimes that convicted by this penagih dadah. So we have Mr. Kamal Effendi here. Okay, so can you please tell us why and how did you get into the field of crime analysis? That related to...
You're diverting somewhere, asking me a different question. I'm going to go like, okay, right. Is this a test for control or something?
No.
All right. Well, why do I become a crime analyst? I prefer to be different, perhaps. When I was in school, I was too ambitious, top scorer, I wish. And some people got 2 rates in the report card. I went back to my house and I told my father, look, they got 2 rates, mine, all rates, So I was kind of proud of that achievement. No, not really. But the thing is that after school, I liked photography and became a photographer. I got myself into a course, and then after 13 days, I was offered a job as a photojournalist in one of the major newspapers. So I became the press photographer and then press photojournalist. And then in 1989, my father, the 6th generation of law enforcement in Malaysia, forced me to join the police so that I'll be the 7th son of the 7th gun. Right? Of course, I refused because I was a journalist, you know, long hair, freestyle, you know, you met a lot of beautiful people like Professional and all, you know. So I'm charming as well. And I refused, but my father threatened me. He said, if you don't want to join the police, he would, yeah, run away from home. It's a true story. He packed his bags, his clothes, and all that. And he said, I'm going off. I said, where? He says, wherever it takes me. And that's what my father said. Mind you, he was on baby walker, you know. So I think if we were to have that conversation right now, this year, 2019, I think he would have reached the front gate by now. Right? So anyway, yeah, I joined the police, and then I went for the training, and I was assigned to the criminal investigation department, where I was in serious crime. So any of you that we've met in, you know, lockup or whatever, I'm very sorry. Don't stare me in the eyes because, you know, people might see that telltale sign. Okay, good. Right. And then in 1995, of all this experience being in the police, being a civilian, you learned about the white and black of people. But when you join the police, you actually see the white, the grays, and the black. And it made me realize there's some handicap in the system. There are a lot of things that the system cannot provide you. For example, if you're a victim, it's very difficult to get support because people are engrossed in the criminal. So I said there must be a way that we could address this. And hence, I got myself, enrolled myself in criminology. So I went back to my home country in the UK, and I went back to my home country in the UK, you know, yeah. And then in 1998, I came back here. I was appointed as the chairman of Public Education Committee for the state of Selangor on crime prevention. And hence I become the professional analyst. Mind you, there are about, 1,864 crime analysts in the world, 1,864. 1,863 are European, American, and all that. Only one Asian, so Malaysia boleh, right? Yeah. Remember that, yeah?
Good.
So I became a crime analyst because I want to be a catalyst. I want to make changes. I want to help those in need. I want to serve in those gray areas. And this is what I've been doing since 1998 until now. Right. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Well, maybe students, most of you know about CSI. Are you watching the CSI? Okay, so you can imagine how Mr. Kamal Effendi is doing his work. Huh? Is it really close like what we saw in the television?
It's in the mind. Yes. Part of it is clinical, part of it is forensic, and most of it is looking into ways either policy making, also encouraging, coaching, or helping people. And the only difference is that if you go to see a psychiatrist and you tell him that you wanted to commit suicide, he will discourage you.
Oh.
An analyst will say, please jump.
Oh.
And show you a way how to do it better. No, I'm
so
joking.
Actually, different approach based on different specialists.
Different approach. We should work together, you know. Starsky and Hutch.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now to Dr. Ravi. Yeah? Okay. Well, as I shared my real experience or story about my friends, that happened actually 15 or more than 10 years back. And even the song that was aired, if I'm not mistaken, the theme song for the campaign anti-dadah back in 1987. Okay, so until now, actually, how is the drug scenario in our country?
Okay, all right. So before
the present,
before we zoom in into Malaysia, we actually have to see the global statistics, because as previously stated, yesterday was the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, and one of the things that we often wait for is the World Drug Report. It is released on the day itself. So based on the report which is released yesterday, the world is a bit shifting into many other drugs comparatively to 10 years ago, 15 years ago. All right. So previously, most people who use drugs in the world is using the traditional opiates. For example, heroin, morphine, this kind of opiates. And currently, we see more of the synthetic opiates. I do not want to equate. Synthetic doesn't equal to ATS or methamphetamine. No. There is synthetic opiates, maybe not that much in our region, but there is a lot of synthetic opiates in many other parts of the world. Synthetic fentanyls, such. In focusing into Southeast Asia, what we've been observing for past 10 years is increasing trend of methamphetamine seizures, as well as number of people who are using methamphetamine. All right. So, to answer your question, in Malaysia, last year alone, when we managed to do synchronization with data between the healthcare system and the criminal system, criminal justice system. Before this, we rarely get these two different sectors to talk to each other. It's going to be very difficult for them to share data between these two sectors. And we managed to share the data between the health sectors, which is the services provided by the Ministry of Health, the hospital settings for their drug substitution therapies, as well as the criminal justice system, including prison and ADK itself, and also from PDRM, the seizure status. And we found there is 160,000 people who actually was detected by the system last year. What I mean by detected is either they go to primary healthcare clinics to get treatment, or they've been caught by police or by ADK. Somehow they end up into the criminal system. So there's 160,000 people last year alone, which is not being detected previously. When you see the data within ADK itself, we have for past 5 years, we see 116,000 people, ADK alone, not including the other systems. And what we see mostly is 85% of the groups that we encounter is aging from 19 to 39 years old, young adults populations. And we often get also cases that young children who are involved. One of the cases that I would like to highlight, 3 years back, I got a case. It's going to be difficult because the case was a 9-year-old kid in Sabah.
9 years old.
Yeah, 9 years old kid.
You hear that? Huh? 9 years old.
And they are school dropouts in Sabah. All right. So this particular kid was recruited by these drugs syndicates to actually distribute drugs.
Oh.
All right. And they actually made the kid to be addicted to methamphetamine. And clinically speaking, the particular kids, we might assume 9-year-old kid cannot get addicted. They don't have the thinking to go and take drugs up to the level of addiction. But when they go into detention and everything, we actually observe withdrawal symptoms. You can see the kids having all kind of anxieties. A lot of symptoms we observe as well. So as I said, the trend looks like it's getting more younger, and the drug which is currently commonly being abused is more into methamphetamine, synthetic methamphetamines mostly. That is the situation in Malaysia.
I see. Okay. Yeah, sure.
I just want to clarify one thing. Some people will misinterpret what I say when he will ask people who wants to commit suicide why they want to commit. I will say, go ahead. The reason I ask go ahead is that his job is to ask question on the why you want to commit suicide. Yeah. My job is to make those people who want to commit suicide question themselves why. So go ahead, and they will go back to you and say, you're not going to stop me? I say, well, if you want to commit it, it's your decision. Why should I commit? And then they'll keep asking themselves, and then they review the decision. That's how it works, different way. I'm not encouraging anyone here, All right? Please, okay, thank you.
Well, I think they got the message. Okay, thank you. So now we come to the round two question. So I will start with Prof. George again. Okay. So we heard a few stories from other panelists. So related to that, come to the substance addiction. Why is substance addiction a relapsing disease, and why is it hard to cure and addict?
Well, I think there are many diseases in the world that we cannot cure. Diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. I mean, all our lifestyle diseases are not curable. Nobody can be cured. They can be managed, and you can prevent harm. Similar to that, when you have a chronic relapsing illness like drug addiction, it's not curable. Not in everyone. There are some who can be cured, but majority will have relapses and remissions. You know, once you've hit the phase of dependence, which is typically 1 year, it has to be 1 year long. You have to have 3 symptoms out of a list of 7 under ICD-10 classification. If you meet that criteria, we know that your brain has already changed. And that change is for the rest of your life.
Was that equally to like brain damage?
No, it's not brain damage. It's neurochemical. But if you continue using, of course, some people go on to brain damage, like, for example, volatile or, inhalants. Young people like to use inhalants, gum, petrol, glue. They bag and they sniff. The problem with the sniffing is it goes directly to the brain. So it doesn't just affect the chemicals, it also affects the brain anatomy. And that can cause permanent damage.
Okay.
So there are some substances that can cause permanent damage. Alcohol is one. Long-term alcohol use can cause permanent damage. But there are some substances that change neurochemicals that stay there for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And that's why once you hit the dependence, it's often a chronic relapsing illness. And our treatment is to help prevent relapses and get them back into community. So treatment sometimes can be for a long, long time. It can be for years, it can be lifelong. I mean, a diabetic, you can never tell a diabetic, stop your treatment. So similarly with drug addiction, if you meet the criteria, it is a long-term treatment.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think now it's come to Mr. Hafizi to share your own experience. I mean, your own experience as well as your experience working with people who are addicted to drugs. So what are the factors that actually contribute to this addiction?
Factors that contribute to addiction, to a person's addiction. First of all, it is important for us to note, first of all, that not everyone who tries drugs end up becoming an addict. Okay? You cannot be an addict, you cannot get addicted just by trying glue sniffing once, twice, or smoking a joint, ganja, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Okay. Important to know that addiction is a process. For a person to end up becoming an addict or dependent on a substance, that person has to go through certain stages because addiction is a process. Just like my experience, I started smoking at the age of 11 and I started using drugs. My first drugs was at the age of 13. So just like Professor Dr. Philip George said that glue sniffing, petrol. So my first drug was glue at the age of 13. Okay. So, and my personal experience working with thousands of drug addicted individuals for the past 22 years, I can see that there are a lot of contributing factors. There's no single factor that can predict a person's drug use. So there are a lot of contributing factors, okay? The factors can be, one, out of curiosity. You know, you become curious, like myself. My factor, my pushing factor to experiment with drugs was one, because I was curious. And then one, due to social factor or environmental factor, I want to belong because I didn't feel belong at home. My dad was a general in the army, so I was abused. I was belittled, put down, and then no time, with my parents. So I didn't feel belong, but I feel belonged in group of my choosing. So social factor or peer pressure. And then because I was curious, and then plus the factor of psychological factor because I was not happy at home, I was being rebellious, I want attention. So it can be social factor, it can be psychological factor, okay? It can be biological factor because you get addicted to it. It causes changes in the brain, makes you become dependent, make you seek out the euphoria, the effect of using drugs. But one more thing that I want to stress. The nature of drugs is therapeutic. It heals. For example, if you have a headache, if you have a headache, you would preferably take Panadol, right? Panadol or paracetamol. If you have stomach ache, you would take some form of medication, right? So if you have a toothache, you also take medication. So the same concept goes in addiction. Because the nature of drugs is therapeutic, it heals. It heals a person. So I noticed that in my experience working with drug addicts throughout the years, the healing, why? The reason why they are taking it to heal. Either to heal physical pain or to heal emotional or psychological pain. Some form of traumas, issues, abuse, a lot. So that's why if a person comes for a rehab to see you for treatment, if the psychological issues is not being addressed, they will seek out the substance because it heals them. So that's my answer.
So can we say that one of the factor is actually they wanted to heal some things that's happening to themselves,
They don't feel good about themselves.
They don't feel good about themselves.
They don't, They don't feel confident. They don't like themselves. They don't like life. They hated their parents. All those things. Yeah.
But they just choose the wrong treatment or wrong.
The wrong and the quickest.
The quickest.
Instant gratification.
I see. Okay. Now to Mr. Kamal Effendi. Now back to the real question that I supposed to ask you. Okay. So as we share about the relationship in between crimes and drug addict. Yeah. Okay. So we know about whenever there's a crime cases, we tend to think that this is the work of the drug addict. But actually, what is there anything that we don't know actually about the relationship in between this drug and the crimes that committed by the drug addict?
Thank you, Prof. Moderator. There are two sides of this. The first one is drug trade, which finance most activities. Illegal money in the market itself being used to trafficking of children for sexual purpose, black market. Yeah? The second one is about substance abuse itself. So what do we know about the relation of crime and drugs? Pretty much a lot. But what we learned in further analysis of the problem shows that there are three types of victimization in drugs issue. The first one is victim by chance. You stumble upon drugs and you like it, yeah? And then you gain traction from there, and you get hooked to it. The second group of people, victim by choice, they chose to fill the void, to replace, substitute. The operative word is something, but what is that something we don't know yet, yeah? So to replace something, The third one will be the compliant individual or victim. Yeah? So what happened? A lot of time, when they can't finance this habit, then they have to find economical ways to buy the product. So if you work, you have money, you don't have issues in getting the items and all. But if you don't work, you don't jobless and all, and what you can do is steal, for example. It's very common to find almost all those involved in snatch theft, yeah, or smash and grabs are drug addicts. Almost all. Yeah. Okay. But not all criminals are drug addicts. But almost all drug addicts resort to crime activities. This is what happened. So to understand addiction, my fellow sisters and brother, do you play PUBG? Any of you? Are you dependent, your life dependent on it? Or you play it every day, every time, in the shower, like, yeah? That is addiction. That is addiction. Now, you know what we're talking about on drugs? Same, because you just crave for it. Sometimes because you don't have anything to do. Amma says, study hard. Huh? Your boyfriend dump you. Why me? Why me? So replacement is that tablet that you have, or smartphone. You go, like Candy Crush level 3, right? That's addiction. So you don't have life. You've been, in your age bracket, I would imagine that somehow, at certain point, you are made a comparison with someone else's daughter or son. Am I right? Look at him. You see, Xiao, every day inside the house learning. You go play basketball, why? You see that one? So Xiao's parents say, right, why are you every day in the house learning? You see, Kyong, sometimes go out play basketball, Sometimes we wish we switch places, am I right? This is what happened to you. Cuma kau tengok anak orang lain tu, pandai belajar aja. Kau nak kahwin aja. So contoh, Contoh. Okay? So this is addiction 101. So what if you don't have credit? So you go and search for places with Wi-Fi. If you have the money, you'll top up and everything, But if you don't have, you search for the places which can feel these activities, right? So this is what happened when they do crime. The most common would be snatch, right? Why? Because they just need sundry money to buy the substance. But if you are in a drug trade itself, like kilos and all that, I salute those guys who sells in kilos, How many you want? One container.
El Chapo,
yeah? Because you can hang once. What is it, right? So the motivation would be different. But in the cases of crime, we've seen bodily crime committed by people associated with drugs. We've seen abuse, bodily abuse, child abuse, negligence. We also see sexual cases because it is a substitute of their anger. Perhaps on clinical part, there are criminogenic content, like the alcohol, availability of drugs, weapon, and all that. And this is what gave people the equipment or tools they need to commit the crime. So in my line of work, what I do is not looking at the particular criminal or case, but I look into why this victim. Yeah? The way they commit the crime will tell us why, and from there we can learn on how to prevent it in future. So, okay, I'm going to ask my fellow secondary schoolgoers here. Okay, focus. Siapa yang pernah cuba dadah, turunkan tangan. Well, some not sure. 真係啊？你講未啊？Okay, good. Thank you very much. You are very alert. You are in control. Congratulations on yourself. Yeah? So be in this kind of state every point in your life. So have I answered the question? Yes, thank you.
All of you are in control, as our title of the forum, be in control. Okay. Okay, now come to Dr. Ravi. Based from statistics from AADK, what are the factors that contribute to a person's drug use?
Okay, I think just now our fellow panelists have mentioned about factors. Yeah, actually, I'm going to be honest here. The data that we have currently is in our website. 60% of the people who are taking drug, they mention that the peer pressure is their main contributing factor. All right?
Peer pressure.
But I need to practice caution when I interpret this particular data. Because you see, the data that we are collecting is when they are encountered with the criminal justice system. So it's offered, they will love to give you an answer that you want to hear. All right? So if they be asking them, once they have been caught, we ask them, okay, why do you take drug? Oh, kawan saya suruh. I mean peer pressure. They're going to blame somebody else. So beyond that, we understand, I mean, clinically, we understand there will be a lot of other contributing factors. For example, the family trauma, childhood experiences. Maybe they have even mental disorders. They take the drugs to relieve them before they actually seek proper treatment. So what ADK been planning to do for past 1 year, we are trying to do a national survey. So it means that we'll get proper, genuine data, which is directly from the people. We can get more accurate data. So we will know exact contributing factors in Malaysia, why exactly people take drugs. So I think that will be a very short answer for me.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, because it's like unsolved problem, and well, of course, as best as we can, we want to reach the zero, drug abuse. But don't know where that zero number will come. Okay, we come to the round 3 of the questions already. Okay, so I back to Prof. Philip Josh. If addiction is a mental health issue, and drug addicts are people with disorder, why are we still using the punitive approach in dealing with these people?
Yeah, that's right. It's a good question. I think that's changed now. And I'm really glad with the progress that we have made. I did addiction studies in Melbourne. And when I came back in 2003, we started our clinic in Seramban Hospital. When we started our clinic, the staff in the clinic itself was skeptical. They said, we're not going to support you. The pharmacist said, no, we're not going to help with your medication. So we had to run the clinic after office hours. And it was just 2 of us, another doctor, Dr. Param and I, and we did everything. We dispensed the medicine, we bought the medicine, we gave the medicine, we observed the patient every day, we did everything, and the police used to wait outside the gate. They will pick up the patient, take out the medicine, put them in the lockup. And then the patient after 2 weeks comes back. But after 3 months, we got patients stable. And there were some patients getting jobs. In 6 months, we had wedding invitations from patients. These were people for 10, 15 years, in and out of Pusat Serenti, locked up, families given up. One patient came with a 500cc bike. They were recovering. And that's when I realized there's more that we can do if we treat them like human beings. Stop punishing a person for their illness. If a diabetic, we tell the diabetic, sorry, because you makan gula, kena masuk penjara. They're not going to recover from their illness. When it's an illness that is the frontal brain that cannot control, you cannot tell someone, okay, you dah jadi, drug dependent, you kena tukar, hari ini kena bubar. You can't do anything that can change them by punitive measures.
Correct.
So you have to engage them, get them to trust you, build a relationship, and then get them to think, yeah, actually my drug use is a problem. I need to change. And then work on their lifestyle. When they change their lifestyle, things change for them as well.
Okay, thank you. I like Prof. Dr. Philip Josh, keep mentioning about this, what we call the drug abuser, but he called patient, okay? Keep telling, describe the person as a patient. So that's really portray his job as a doctor. Okay, now to Mr. Hafizi. From your story, there are many kind of treatments, many type of treatments that usually we do to treat this patient. Okay, so for pengasih, how does pengasih treat a patient with this substance use disorder? What kind of treatment that pengasih usually do, or how do you differentiate, okay, type of treatment of this patient?
How does pengasih treats a drug-dependent individual? So, in answering your question, it is important to look at the current definition of addiction. Okay, the current definition of addiction is that addiction is a chronic, relapsing brain disease characterized by compulsive drug seeking and continued use of a substance despite negative consequences. What it means is that once a person is addicted, that person will keep on seek out drugs and use drugs despite being presented with problems in their lives. For example, he or she will continue to use drugs despite facing legal problems, despite facing health issues, diagnosed with illnesses, with psychosis, despite he or she will continue using drugs despite being facing with family problems, work problems, so unable to stop. Okay? Addiction is about losing control. Now you become addicted, you have no control in how you use or when you want to use drugs. No. You're going to be using it despite being presented with problems in your life. So, how we treat a person or our clients in pengasih is that we are treating them by focusing on the components or the damages caused by their addiction. I mean the social components, repair their social aspects of the individual, repair the familial aspect, their relationship with their family members, the significant others, where we do counselings, family counselings, group counselings, individual counselings, couples counselings, also repairing or addressing their legal issues. If they have issues with the law, pending court cases, we will try to assist them, okay? And also addressing their medical issues or health issues. If they have psychosis, if they have other diagnosed medical conditions, we will try to assist them and get the relevant or appropriate help from other professionals. So, we are focusing on the components affected by a person's drug use. Okay, but it has a name. Okay, the modality that pengasih is using in treating the clients, it is called the biopsychosocial modality, focusing on the biological component, health, physical components, diet, nutrition, exercise and all, psychological component, and also social components. In short, how we treat our client is that focusing on lifestyle changes. Like Dr. Philip Josh says that in the end, if you want to remain drug-free, if you want to have a fulfilling and productive life without drugs, If you want to stop being addicted, just like any other diseases like diabetes, any other chronic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, lifestyle change is important. You have to change, you know, your routine, your diet, your schedule, everything. So that's my answer.
Thank you. So obviously that in treating this patient, it doesn't mean that directly with the patient itself, but also with the surrounding. So pengasih like may involve, you know, with their families, their peers, I mean of the person. Okay. Thank you. So now to Mr. Kamal, okay, we come to the exciting stage now. How far actually we able to go to the root of the problem when it comes to the drug crimes? How deep? Yeah, and about the drug crimes, and if you may share with us, I mean from your analysis or data, how about the criminal networks that bring the drugs into our country? How deep, how far we know about them?
I can never deny or admit anything about that. I'm not at liberty to tell that. I can tell you, but I'll find you and I'll kill you. Wow. No, it's only a dialogue. There are two components of the question. Yeah? Number one, the root cause. Now, ladies and gentlemen, teachers, students, I would like you to get involved in drugs. Please come forward. If you really want to know the root cause of the problem, it is because our support system is very lacking support system. For example, my friend here, Hafizi, the bodybuilder, bukan nama sebenar.
Natural, no drugs. I don't take drugs. I don't take steroids for this. Eat a lot of meat, protein.
And it's only Botox, okay, and some filler, okay. For instance, my friend here is kind of lucky, but luck is not enough because he has a strong urges, resilience and all, so he can make it. But outside there, the real culprit, or the root cause of the problem, is society itself. We can never accept them as part of society. We look at them with a lens of skeptic. Ya. Ini, available lagi. Siapa nak jadikan menantu? Wah, dia nak 2 orang. Kolah. Ya, tak apa. Lepas ni PM saya. Sampai macam ni cuba. Tahun depan kita kena angkat berat juga lah. Ya. So the thing is that the components of society, the ideal society is that when one person is hurt, the others will support, will help, console, empathy. Yeah? But a lot of time here in Malaysia, the practice is that we have sympathy for them, and it stops there. So I would like to encourage you to involve in drug, not as abuser, but in order for us to address this issue, you, yeah, schoolgoers and all that, you have to step forward, take ownership of the problem, and together, yeah, we become a family, and a family will protect each other, will bring us on the same level. Wait. Jia He, Wan Xixin, am I right? A family? No? Jia He, Wan Shixing, or something like that, you know? Maybe my Tamil is very good rather than my Mandarin, yeah? I wish that we go out tomorrow, we look at the sky, we look at the earth, and we go, Pudiya Vanam, Pudiya Bumi. Hey, என்ன பார்க்குற? அடிதா? yang mana yang cantik tu tak apa, ni ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கிறேன். நாளைக்கு வர சொல்லுங்க, வார்த்தை தண்ணி குடிக்க போவோம். All right? So, that's the first part of it. Yeah? The second part, the root cause of the problem is that sometimes there are people who has a voice, but the opportunity to be heard is not there. In policy making, for example, If you commit crime, you're a drug abuser, you commit crime, of course you're going to be punished in prison. Right? Ideally, you'll go to a rehab center. Right? But you're being punished by punitive law simply because you commit crime. Right? That's the thing. And of course, we have margin of error there where people, drug abusers, capitalize or manipulate the society. Yeah? Because you know, that's how you go and tell stories to a doctor and say, look, I go back, I listen to radio once, and suddenly the song go out, 你问我爱你有多深, I cry, I want to do the drug today, you know? Because this is kind of voice, that inner voice that manipulate, criminal, do manipulate the system at times. They do manipulate normal people like us. So we have to put a margin of error there. If you were to expect zero drugs, the only way to do it is that zero drug in Malaysia is either all of us, 33 million, go somewhere else, or we change the name of the country. When you change the name of the country, people never can associate Malaysia with drug because there's no drug problem in Malaysia because the country never exists. Or we've changed the name. So in reality, the way to move forward in this is the understanding of the root cause problem and action plan. We have to be inclusive in making the roadmap. Yeah? You play a role as society members. Yes, you are, how old are you, please? You? Next to you sleeping or your eyes is open? Yeah, I wonder whether, yeah. Why is it written, eh? 16. How come you're too tall for 16? Yeah. Get involved. You're not peddling drugs like that 9-year-old kid. Yeah? No. But they get involved in, brother, there's someone in my place need help. You don't, police. Drug addict. You know? Just because someone go and, maybe they just got out from a surau, you know, pasang kapet. So the gum is there. You know? Never buruk sangka, you know? So get involved in, I think I have a problem in my place. These people, you know, I think drugs. How come you know drugs? Because I see needle over there, I see spoon, you know, I see candle. You sure or not? So AADK go there, I'm gone. Cari nombor punya tempat because we have all this. Never mind. Yeah, it's a genuine mistake. It's expected to happen. But if you keep your eyes open, you'll help. If you keep your eyes closed, you, in the next 20 years, will face the same hiccup problems, yeah, that we are facing. So be inclusive from now. This is the right step. I'm sure you are being forced to come here. Some of you go, yeah, they say no here. Yeah. Some goes wing, yeah, okay. But the thing is, now you know you have the power to change the future. You are the future, so step up, you know, play the role, please, yeah? I know some of you don't look as handsome as Mr. Hafizu here, as macho as Mr. Vishal Vishal, Tamil film star, yeah? But it does not matter. If it requires 10 people, and you are one of them, it's good enough. If it requires 10 people, and we have only 9 people in society, then nothing much we can do. Be society, not be just crowd. Accident, everybody goes, nobody call ambulance, that people die over there, you know? Because everybody, oh, what happened, yeah? Nobody think or come across thinking, calling an ambulance. Now, that's support service that we don't have. We are lucky we have NGOs, such as Pengasih. Yeah? We are lucky we have support services from the prison department. Although it is not their main domain, theirs is to punish and rehabilitate correctional activities and all that. But when handling with drugs, in criminal justice system, you cross the line on crime, you do the time, yeah, in prison. Now, that's the first component of the question. On the second part, which forget, what was it? It's too long. Criminal network.
Bring, you know, drugs into the country.
It's easy to bring drugs. It's very easy. You're talking about small quantity. If you're talking about big quantities, you could smuggle drugs in sea, land, air. Yeah, you can use all these 3 methods. for those of you interested in learning how to smuggle, please get in touch with me, right? 1-300-85-2525, right? So the thing is that how not to get caught. This is another issue that we have from drugs issue, the spillover effect, integrity, for example, because a lot of people can be bought. It has a price tag, you know. Activities like bribery, you offer bribe and people close eyes, you manage to bring, or you be creative. They use mules. In fact, the word keldai dada never exists in Malaysian vocabulary. Sebelum ni courier. I was the one who coined that keldai dada, so that people understand, oh, keldai dada. Drug mules, this is actually a mixed breed, yeah, between a mule and a horse. So perkataan sebenarnya ialah bagal. But not many people know bagal. Bagal, you know, feature as stupid as a donkey, but feature as a horse, right? So, keldai is that small donkey jackass thing, you know. So make it easier, I call keldai dada, and everyone goes to call it keldai dada, keldai dada. This is, you get the money, I give you the money. Yeah? You want to travel, so say to Africa, go ahead, but you have to make few stops. I give you the money to finance your activities. In exchange, you have to carry some luggage, either knowingly or unintentionally. Okay, number 2. So what else? What if I were to, this is hypothetically, yeah? I'm not going to confirm nor deny this, I'm just saying, you know, sometimes I say things that I don't mean to hurt myself, but others. Right? Okay. For example, I want to bring in 10 kilos into Malaysia. I ask, give me one name over there. Seorang. Kamal janganlah aku baling kasut kan, nama aku pun Kamal.
Nama dia Kamal. Kamal Effendi.
Carilah nama yang lain. Ada yang rhyme with fizzy, something like that, you know. Ya, bagi I satu nama lelaki. Sana, dia kat sana. Haris. Cik Haris. Ombak rindu. So, what I do is like, I know I want to bring into Malaysia 10 kilos. So I asked Haris, this is 5,000 ringgit. Name me a price, Haris. Mana Haris? Muka pun layak. Okay. Okay. Haris, berapa kilo, berapa nak duit? Tolong bawa jaket saya je pergi seberang. Nak mati seorang lah, jangan ajak orang. I tanya berapa, how much you want? How much? 10,000. Fine, I'll give 10,000 to him. But it comes along with a tips to the enforcer. Budak tu ada bawa 1 kilo. At the same time, Ravi bukan nama sebenar. I don't have Chinese here, you know. Stereotyping, you know, Chinese importing drug. You guys very cool with parang, you know, right? No, this is not stereotyping. We're just saying we are friends here. And I want you to pay attention to remember this because dopamine will go out now flowing in your brain instead of drugs, yeah, which is good. Am I right? Dopamine? Yeah, you're getting dope, man, right? So I gave 10,000 there. He brings out to Thailand 1 kilo. I am asking Mr. Ravi here to bring 10 kilos here. The tips I gave to the enforcement is that, police, tu ada seorang budak, pakai pun baju oren, memang tak payah, kalau tangkap tak payah tukar uniform. Baju oren dah ada untuk remand. Yeah. Dia bawa 1 kilo. So the police will pay attention. The enforcement will pay attention, yeah, to him. He get caught while I have, yeah, my deficit is only 1 kilo, but here 10 minus 1, I still have 9 kilos, which can cover my operation. So this is what happened globally almost. What else you know? Sometimes they are getting creative where the drop point is, say, Sungai Golok. The pickup point will be somewhere else. So, okay, see the current, yeah, maybe pukul 2 sampai lah. So someone have to wait over there. Mana pukul 2 ni tak sampai, you know? Sometimes you just drop, sometimes you just carry it along. This is my own experience. we found drugs and cache of, not cache, C-A-C-H-E, of ammunition in a truck which carries these pigs. The majority of the enforcement officers are Malay. Right? By convention, they should be Muslim. Right? So when you see this truck, you're not going to stop them. You just right? But there were ones that we stopped them and we searched, one by one the cages, and in between, in the middle, you found this. Yeah? What about during rainy season? Who's going to do a roadblock in rainy season? Yeah? So if you choose by land, there are ways to do it. But fortunately in Malaysia, there is no tunnel system involved yet. Yeah, other countries, they have tunnel, which is easy, conveyor belt, yeah? And you get the thing. So this is among the problems that we face globally. And on top of that, you're not talking about 1 million USD, you're not talking about 10 million USD, this is billions. The empire is of billions. In normal circumstances, those who carries on vice activities, gambling, yeah, and also this secret society, they will do drugs too as a side income or core business activities. Right? So I hope I don't answer the question by now. I managed to avoid the question, right?
Thank you, Mr. Kamal. Okay, so I hope that what you have heard from Mr. Kamal about those strategies, just for your knowledge or information only, not for practical. Okay. All right. So as mentioned by Mr. Kamal himself, about if we want to have a zero, drug abusers or whatever, we need to change our country. Okay. But now back to Dr. Ravi, are we on the right track? Of course, we want to, achieve this zero drug abusers. So, if yes, if we have that roadmap, or if we are in the right track in treating the addiction, what are those strategies that under AADK having, and then whether the trends are actually increasing or decreasing, and are we still facing new addiction or new addicts throughout the year, each year?
Okay. Before I answer the question, I think there's few key points that Mr. Kamal highlighted just now in regards of syndicates using mules. I think one of the things that we probably we need to know is, I think the race team is actually publishing a series of very good videos on this particular drug recently past 1 week. I think I should advise everybody to have a look on this thing. This is by the Star paper, the race team, they are investigating journalists. Very good. They actually highlighted a case of 16 years old Chinese girl being recruited to South Korea on a pretext of vacation, and she's there for 19 years and 19 years in the prison there. One of the cases are being highlighted. I think it's a very good educational kind of videos everybody should be watching, just highlighting that point. Second issue is that the involvement of people is very lacking. I agree. So the cases or what our target is often changes year by year. A lot of things changes in the field, on the drug abuse field, a lot of things changes, all right? So some changes we see very drastically. One of the thing to be noted in 2005, 2005, yes, we started doing harm reduction. We started introducing medical field into addiction. So we are giving medications and everything. Fast forward in 2017, after we have a lot of success in Ministry of Health and everything, how many of y'all actually know we have a national drug policy? Obviously, the school children might not know. I think even adults doesn't know we have a national drug policy, a new national drug policy established in 2017. One of the key changes that we made in the national drug policy is including harm reduction into the main core. So previously it was enforcement, prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, and international collaboration. That was the four main components. And 2017, we adopted that harm reduction should be a core in the drug addiction field, because we recognize that treatment is needed. Even the criminal justice feels that there must be some form of treatment should be available for them, regardless if they are going into Pusat Serenity or they're going to prisons or they are out there not yet to be detected. They need to be provided treatment. All right. So, despite we having national policy, which many people doesn't know, we have made changes and everything. What I would like to highlight is the community. How do you address it? Most of the time, if you see a drug addict or somebody who looks like a drug addict, you pick up a phone, you call the enforcement officers. That's the only thing most of them will do. We receive tons of calls. PDRM have even more calls, I think. They have around 80,000 cases per year. So they often get this. Why our society doesn't think? We are here talking about treatment must be given to drug addiction. We are educating the younger generation, but everybody need to be understanding that. And next time you see a drug addict, ask them to seek treatment. So there is NGOs. We have Ministry of Health. We have facilities. In ADK, despite ADK, everybody will equate Pusat Serenity. Only ADK doesn't have Pusat Serenity alone. We have also voluntary treatment centers. People can walk in to get treatments. We have methadone programs in ADK as well. Even if you don't want to go to rehabilitation center, we have community centers. You live at your home, you come in for counseling in our place. It's called Acute and Care Service Centers. So we have all these provisions. So community need to be understanding this particular treatment provision which is available in the community to address the problem. Coming back to the main questions that you asked, is the number increasing? Yes, definitely. As I said, the numbers is definitely increasing. I don't see that much of decrease, all right, in the drug, people who use drugs. At the same time, the number of seizures that we are seeing now is in tons. We are seeing it in tons. It's not longer in kilograms and everything. And even drugs which is somehow not supposed to be available in Malaysia, for example, cocaine, which is supposed to be coming from America, is available in Malaysia. Where recently, I think few months back, PDRM seized around 20 kilos in KLIA. So there is a lot of increasing demand for the substance to be available. So it's going to be a very long shot if we are just thinking we're going to get zero. I totally agree. It's going to be a long shot. So yeah, that will be my simple answer. Thank you.
Looks like we really need to change the name of the country. Okay, thank you to all our panelists. So that's actually end the formal question, okay, for this forum. Now we still got time, which I purposely try to finish the formal question so that we give opportunity to the floors, okay, to ask questions to all our superstar in front of you now. Okay. Any question from the floor? Yes. Which one want to ask first? Okay, please. Can we pass the mics? Okay, Miss Poon first.
Morning, Prof. Zul.
Morning.
And panel speakers. It's pretty interesting for Mr. Kamal. They've entitled our moment to see a different world of what I know. And I'm sure that don't live in your world. But having said that, I would first like to channel my question to Dr. Philip on the connection between weed and using weed as a coping strategy for stress management during exam period. That's question one. Okay. And then the question two, I'd like to direct it to Mr. Hafizi. And you were saying that the young one get into drugs due to social environment, due to peer pressure. So just say we take an individual who is adjusting to a new environment and not accepted to that new environment and having to cope. And sometimes they outreach with their friends, and their form of outreaching could be a party prom. And then in that social setting, there is alcohol and there is drugs. And say, hey, YOLO, That's what the young people say. YOLO, you only live once. You never try, you never know. Okay, so under that kind of circumstances where parents or teachers or counselors like us have been telling them, don't do this, don't do that, I don't think it really helps. So under that kind of circumstances, what should the young one be watching within them to avoid that situation? So thank you and for a very interesting journey.
Okay, Dr. Philip.
So I think your question is about marijuana or weed for making people feel relaxed, right? Okay, so marijuana is actually a CNS depressant and a hallucinogen. So we classify drugs under 3 types: depressants, hallucinogens, stimulants. Marijuana has got both properties, hallucinogenic and depressant. You cannot perform if you use marijuana. Your brain is already depressed. So you feel more relaxed, calm, and maybe sleepy, dopey. Some people use it as a way to go to sleep. But you also feel euphoric. And then it's a hallucinogen, so you start dreaming things, thinking things, seeing things, or feeling things very different. The music becomes like taste to you, and so it changes how your mind functions. Now, in countries where it's legal, they identified that marijuana is a safe, fairly safe, recreational drug if you know how to use it recreationally. So let's say you go, play basketball once a week, that's your recreation. But if you use marijuana to cope with stress, it's no more recreation. It is self-medication. So every time you feel stressed, you will be tempted to use marijuana. And then eventually the brain gets used to, I cannot cope with stress without marijuana. And then marijuana takes over and says, you cannot cope with life without marijuana. So slowly from occasional use, you become habitual use, then you become dependent. People think because marijuana, you don't have to increase the dose, there's no withdrawals, you're not addicted. But that's false. Marijuana is addictive, psychologically, not physically. So people can get addicted to it as well. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It is not helpful for any drug, for that matter, cannot be used as a way to cope with problems. If you have problems, find a more natural way. Otherwise, your whole life will be dependent on that substance. I mean, we all go through problems. All of us have stress. But if you can't find a normal way to deal with that, then you are actually leading yourself into trouble and problems. In fact, a famous study in Melbourne actually showed if we change your curriculum in school and make it compulsory that you learn stress management, how to deal with my feuding parents. Every time gaduh, itu aja yang dia buat. How to deal with my mother always pinching me, asking me, study. How to deal with, I asked this girl for a date and she said, table. How to deal with stress. If we make that compulsory for you to study, in Melbourne they showed that they can reduce drug use problem. Because you are now equipped, you are empowered. So instead of being bodoh and then ikut drug, it's better to be smart and learn how to be better equipped. So stress management, a life skill, I think is more important than using marijuana or weed.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Philip. Okay, next to Mr. Hafiz.
In answering the professor's question, young people, the influence of peers and social surroundings in regards to drug use. Yes, I agree when you said that. And in dealing with these young people, you cannot just simply say, no, don't do drugs. You cannot do this, because this is what happened. Okay, because why? Because addiction happens, addiction is a process. Okay? The nature of addiction is progressive. Okay, so every addict, they once started at the first stage. In order for you to become an addict, you have to go through stages. The first stage is experimental stage. This is a stage where a person experiments with substances, okay, due to peer pressure, curiosity. Okay, they will try alcohol once, they will try marijuana once, they will try popping pills once, and then they will try snorting drugs once. Okay, but they're not addicted. Okay, and then they're going to progress to the second stage, which is social use. Or situational use, where they already experience the effect of drugs, and they know the effect of drugs on them, so they will use situationally in social settings. For example, when they want to party, okay, or when they want to talk to girls, approach girls. And then the third stage is the regular use, meaning that the dosage or the frequency will increase. And then the fourth stage is that the dependent stage, addiction stage. So, if you want to deter or prevent the stage from progressing, for example, one more thing. My personal experience, in my counseling sessions, 98% of my clients, because I do counseling, and then I would always ask my client, when was your first experience with drugs? My clients that comes to see me are like 50 years of age, 40 years of age, 35, 38 years of age, but I would always ask them, when was your first experience with drugs? 98%, majority of them will say that their first time using drugs was between the age of 14 to 17. Okay. Addiction can be prevented if we recognize the signs and symptoms, because it is a progression. It progresses. If you can detect the signs, you can put a stop to it. You can prevent it from progressing. But in my case as well, because I started at the age of 13, I didn't become an addict. It took me how many years? 2 years to become an addict, to be using every day. And then my parents didn't know until I was caught by the police. 2.5 years. I was using needle, I was caught by the police. Then only they came to know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hafizi, for the real.
Last. Okay, last. Prevention. And then prevention, it is how we approach prevention, how we approach our young people. You cannot use the scare tactic anymore. One, you have to educate. You have to educate the parents, and then you have to educate the school, the teachers. You have to educate the young people on the dangers of drugs. One, you cannot use the scare tactic. And then second, you have to provide them with alternatives activities. And then because why they are curious, they are risk takers, they want to experience, they want to have fun, So you provide them with alternatives, fun and fulfilling activities, so they can divert their energy and their curiosity to something else, which is much more productive and positive.
Thank you, Mr. Hafizi. Well, you heard already the periods where most of these drug abusers falls at the first time is in between 14 to 17, which is at the age of most of you now. Okay, I know many of us getting excited, okay? But due to the schedule, we only can allow one last question, okay, from our young girl here. And perhaps to only one panel, if, okay, possible.
I'd like to direct it to anyone that is willing to answer. Most young students, especially primary school students and secondary school students, are exposed to drug addiction by lectures that they get at their schools, right? But they are usually taught that drug addiction is more of a choice rather than a disease or an illness. Why is that, and should we change that? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think it's a very, very important question, very relevant question. Congratulations to that. Yeah. So there are the different stages, as Hafizi was saying, and the first stage is a choice. 90% of teenagers who try a substance never become dependent. So, sometimes they do something wrong, they retract and they understand and they change their life. And that's a choice. That's the choice part. But once they start using it regularly, so for example, if it's heroin, all you need is 3 times. After the 3rd time, you're most probably going to be very easily dependent. If it's smoking, cigarettes, all you need is 2. In fact, tobacco is more addictive than most of the other substances in the world. If it's alcohol, it may take maybe a few months. So different substances have got different potential for dependence. In the beginning, it's a choice. But later, the choice is lost because it's already taken over your brain. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much to all panelists. So now I pass the session to our MC, Kishan.
Thank you, Prof. Zul, and also to all the panel speakers. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Vishna to give out a few tokens of appreciations to our speakers and also Prof. Zul.